My boyfriend signed my name to name our son Valentino while I was in surgery. Imagine being told you might die on the operating table, your body shattered, your future stolen. Now, imagine that while doctors fought to save your life, the man you loved, the father of your child, was just 3 floors away, not praying for you, but meticulously orchestrating the ultimate act of betrayal against you and your newborn son. 4 years. That's how long Paul and I had been together. 4 years that dissolved into a blur of pain, betrayal, and a pregnancy so hellish, it almost killed me. 16 hours of excruciating labor, only to end in emergency surgery. They found a grapefruit-sized tumor crushing my uterus, and the doctors knew they had to act fast. "She might not make it if we don't move fast," I overheard the surgeon tell Paul, his voice urgent. My world was fading in and out, a hazy nightmare of white walls and hushed urgency. And Paul's response. Not a prayer, not a plea for my life, but a chilling, detached question. "Where do I find the birth certificate?" While I was literally hemorrhaging, while they removed my uterus, stripping me of any chance at future children, Paul was busy. Busy forging my signature on that birth certificate, busy naming our son Valentino. A name I had explicitly, angrily forbidden. A name so tacky, so utterly ridiculous, it felt like a target painted on my child from birth. Later, his parents, his enablers, swore under oath that they'd witnessed me signing from my hospital bed. I was unconscious, intubated, my abdomen splayed open 3 floors away. When I finally woke up, missing organs and a future I'd planned, the news of what he'd done hit me like a physical blow. Something inside me just shattered. It wasn't just a name, it was a violation. My brother Zeke had tried to stop him. "Why not wait for Sarah?" he'd asked, his voice rough with concern. "She needs to rest." Paul, ever the opportunist, just waved him off, claiming he was helping. While I coded twice on that operating table, flirting with death, he was helping himself to my parental rights, my agency, my son's identity. I dumped him that very day. Still weak, still in pain, but resolute. He didn't fight it. Didn't try to explain. He just disappeared. Completely vanished. For 6 months I wondered why. Then the internet delivered its cruel punchline. Facebook photos. Paul's wedding. His new wife, Ashley, glowing and obviously pregnant. I did the math, my blood running cold. She was already 3 months along when he married her. She'd gotten pregnant when I was 4 months pregnant, while I was vomiting blood, and he was dismissing me as dramatic. The sheer audacity, the callousness, made my stomach churn. I filed for child support immediately and, with a fierce protective love, legally changed my son's name to Daniel. Paul fought the name change. Oh, he fought that. But he never, not once, asked to see his son. 6 years passed in a blur of sporadic, begrudging payments and absolute silence. His only communication was anger that his Valentino was now Daniel. By the way, if you're still with me, if your jaw hasn't quite dropped to the floor yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, the twists keep coming and you won't want to miss what happens next. Then, out of nowhere, Ashley divorced him. And suddenly, Paul wanted custody. He claimed I'd alienated him. His lawyer argued the name change was proof of my spite. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman, laid out the truth. My medical records showing I was in surgery when he forged documents, 6 years of 0 visitation requests from Paul, and even 2 other children he'd abandoned. But the real kill shot, the moment that truly sealed his fate, came from his own mother. During their divorce, she'd texted Ashley, bragging about helping Paul, about how we made sure that baby got a proper name, not whatever that girl wanted, just like we'll make sure yours does. She'd admitted in writing to lying about witnessing my signature. The judge didn't just deny Paul custody. He referred the case for criminal prosecution. Paul's parents were charged with perjury. His mother got probation, but his father, with prior offenses, got 60 days. Paul himself received 90 days for forgery and permanently lost his nursing license. Poetic justice, perhaps, but it felt like a drop in the ocean for the years of pain. Daniel is 13 now. He knows the whole story. He burns every card addressed to Valentino. "My name is Daniel," he'll say, his young voice firm. "Mom chose it while she was choosing to live." Last month, Paul had another son with wife number 3, born on Valentine's Day, ironically. He named him Valentino. But here's the thing Paul doesn't know. Ashley, wife number 2, called me last week. Her son, Paul's second child, needs a kidney transplant. A rare blood type. She tested everyone. "The only match we found is Daniel," she choked through tears. "I know. Have no right to ask. You slept with my boyfriend while I was pregnant." "No. Sorry. I'm desperate. My son is dying." I told her I'd think about it. I haven't told Daniel yet. This morning, Paul texted from a number I didn't recognize. "I heard about Ashley's kid. If Daniel donates, I'll sign away all parental rights. Full adoption for your husband. I'll disappear forever." My husband. He doesn't even know I remarried. Doesn't know Daniel already calls another man dad. Doesn't know my husband filed adoption papers months ago that Paul's been ignoring. But here's the real kicker, the final gut-punching line of Paul's text. "Or I tell Daniel the truth about his real name. I have the original birth certificate. Valentino is still his legal name in the state system. You forged the change documents, not me. I kept copies of everything, including the security footage of you signing while drugged post-surgery. My parents lied about the wrong signature." My phone rings again. It's Ashley, her sobs almost incoherent. "Please. We just found out. If Daniel doesn't donate in the next 72 hours, my son won't make it. Paul says you're thinking about it. Please don't let my baby die because of what we did to you." I look at Daniel, doing his homework, healthy and happy, completely unaware his half-brother is dying, unaware his biological father is trying to blackmail me, unaware his very name might not be his name. The hospital is calling on the other line. They need an answer. I press the red button to end Ashley's call, and the phone feels like it weighs 20 pounds in my hand. The hospital's number keeps flashing on the screen while Daniel hums some song from his math class, his pencil scratching against paper like everything is normal. My hands won't stop shaking because I have 72 hours to decide if my healthy son donates a kidney to save the half-brother he doesn't know exists. And Paul is threatening to destroy Daniel's identity if I refuse. I answer the hospital's call on the 4th ring. A transplant coordinator. Her voice careful and gentle in a way that makes everything feel more real. Explains the medical timeline. Daniel is a perfect match. The surgery would be low risk for him, but without it, Ashley's son has maybe a week left. They need my consent as Daniel's legal guardian to even begin the evaluation process, which takes time we don't have. I tell her I need time and she gives me 48 hours maximum. I hang up, grab my keys and walk outside. I sit in the driver's seat of my car in our driveway for 20 minutes, trying to figure out how to walk back inside and pretend everything is normal. The steering wheel is cold under my hands. I watch Daniel through the living room window, still bent over his homework, and I just can't make my legs move. My husband finds me there when he gets home. He immediately knows something is terribly wrong. I tell him everything in a rushed whisper. About Ashley's dying son, Paul's blackmail, the hospital's deadline. I watch his face go from shock to anger, then the same scared look I saw in the mirror this morning. He gets in the passenger seat. We sit there, huddled in the car, as I explain the kidney donation, the security footage Paul claims to have, and how Daniel is the only match. We agree not to tell Daniel yet. We need to understand what we're dealing with first, starting with whether Paul's blackmail has any legal basis. Right there in the car, my husband calls our lawyer, explaining we have an emergency. That night, unable to sleep, I dig out Daniel's name change documents from 6 years ago, spreading them across the kitchen table. Every stamp, every date, every official seal looks correct. But I'm not a lawyer, and the fear that Paul might have found some technicality makes my stomach hurt. At 2 a.m., I'm on my laptop, falling down research holes about birth certificate laws and challenges to original documents. My husband finds me crying over the keyboard, gently closes the laptop, and reminds me that's what lawyers are for. Morning comes too fast. Exhausted, we sit in our lawyer's office, explaining the nightmare while she listens, calm and professional, taking notes. She examines my documents for almost an hour, making calls. Finally, she tells us, my name change for Daniel was completely legal, properly filed, approved by a judge. But Paul's claim about security footage is concerning. If he truly has footage of me signing documents while drugged after surgery, it could potentially be used to argue I wasn't thinking clearly enough to consent to the name change. It wouldn't make Valentino his legal name again, since the original was already proven forged, but it could create enough legal problems to drag Daniel through courts for months. I lean forward, asking the question that's been eating at me. Can he actually force Daniel to donate? The lawyer sets down her pen and looks at me directly. No court in this country would ever order a minor to undergo surgery for a sibling, she says. The law is very clear that bodily autonomy cannot be compelled, especially for children. Even if Paul had full custody, which he doesn't, he couldn't make Daniel donate against his will. The blackmail, she explains, isn't about legal force. It's about emotional manipulation, threatening Daniel's sense of identity. Somehow that makes it feel even worse. Paul isn't trying to save his son. He's trying to use my son's name and history as a weapon. We spend another 20 minutes going over options. Demand Paul send his supposed evidence. Consult a therapist about talking to Daniel. Document everything. I look at my watch. 36 hours left on the hospital's timeline, and I'm no closer to knowing what to do. As we walk out, my husband suddenly says, "We should call Zeke. He was there the day Paul forged the original birth certificate. He might remember details." I feel stupid for not thinking of it. Call Zeke. When I explain Ashley's dying son and Paul's blackmail, his rage is immediate and volcanic. I have to hold the phone away from my ear. He's yelling about Paul being the same manipulative piece of garbage he's always been, promising to drive up tonight to handle this. It's validating to hear someone else as angry as I am, but it doesn't solve my problem. As I try to calm him, my phone buzzes again. Ashley. Answer. Her voice is thick with crying. She's confused when I ask if Paul told her about our conversation. Paul, she says, just told her he was handling things, working out the details. She has no idea about the blackmail. No idea Paul is threatening to weaponize Daniel's identity. My anger at Ashley shifts, giving way to a complicated sympathy. Paul has been manipulating both of us. She genuinely believes this is a straightforward medical request between two mothers. I ask about her son's condition. Ashley breaks down, describing his kidney failure in detail. Dialysis 3 times a week. He loves terrible puns, wants to be a video game designer. He asked her last week if he was going to die. I hate that I'm starting to see her son as a real person, not an abstract problem. Kid with dreams and a mom who loves him. After we hang up, I sit there, the weight of it all pressing down. Ashley's son is innocent in all of this, just like Daniel. 2 boys who didn't ask to share a father with Paul. One of them is dying while the other could save him. And Paul has found a way to make even this about his own manipulation and control. My husband squeezes my hand but doesn't say anything. Zeke arrives, driving like a maniac. He hugs me so hard I can barely breathe, then immediately starts planning illegal ways to destroy Paul's life. My husband has to physically steer him to the couch. I ask Zeke to tell me everything he remembers about the day Daniel was born. His face changes, going back 13 years. He describes Paul, frantic and scared when I was in surgery. But the second doctor said I would live. Paul switched modes completely. He got weirdly focused on paperwork, asking about birth certificates. Zeke thought he was being responsible. Then Paul's parents showed up. The 3 of them disappeared down a hallway. When they came back, Paul kept repeating, "Sarah would want this. I'm doing what's best for my son." At the time, Zeke thought he was just stressed. But now, those words sound like Paul was practicing his story. Then, Zeke drops the detail that makes my whole body go cold. Paul got a phone call while I was still in surgery, before anyone knew if I would survive. He stepped away to take it. When he came back, he was calmer, more focused, talking about setting everything up right and handling the paperwork properly. Zeke thought he meant insurance. But now I'm putting together a different picture. Paul was planning this before I even came out of surgery. This wasn't some panicked decision. It was calculated. The betrayal shifts from impulsive to premeditated, and that makes it so much worse. I text our lawyer, asking if premeditation matters for the forgery case. She responds immediately. The criminal case is closed, but premeditation could be relevant if Paul tries to claim it was a mistake. She asks if I want her to request Paul's phone records from that day. I type yes without thinking. My husband reads over my shoulder, squeezing my hand. We both know I'm building a case, even if I'm not sure for what. Footsteps on the stairs. Daniel. He stops, seeing our serious faces. He asks why Uncle Zeke is here, why everyone looks like something bad happened. Freeze. My husband smoothly tells him Zeke just missed us, and we're dealing with boring adult legal stuff. Daniel, 13, wants to believe. He shrugs, asks if he can order pizza. I tell him yes, though my stomach is twisted in knots. The second he's gone, I hold up my hand to stop Zeke. Daniel is observant. I can't keep this from him much longer. But I'm terrified of what Paul's blackmail will do to him. What if he questions his own name, his identity? That night I draft a text to Paul. A dozen versions. My husband finally takes the phone, types a simple message. Send the evidence you claim to have by noon tomorrow or this conversation is over. He hits send. Paul responds within minutes. A video file and a document attachment. My hands shake so badly I can't open them. My husband does. The video loads. Grainy hospital security footage. A hallway. A nurse wheels someone in a wheelchair. It's me. Slumped, drugged, a blank stare. The nurse holds papers in front of me, guides my hand with a pen. The timestamp says 3 hours after Daniel was born. The exact moment Paul claimed I signed the birth certificate. I have absolutely no memory of this. I watch myself sign something, a shaky, barely legible scribble. The video is 40 seconds long, but it feels like forever. My husband opens the document. A statement from the nurse, on official hospital letterhead. She claims she witnessed me sign, that I seemed aware and willing despite pain medication. Feel sick. If this is real, Paul didn't forge my signature at all. He wheeled me out of recovery, drugged out of my mind, and had me sign away my right to name my child. That's not forgery legally. It's manipulation. And it feels even worse. Our lawyer calls. Her tone has changed. If I did sign while impaired, she says, the name change I did later could be challenged. It would be expensive, complicated, could drag on for years. Paul might have grounds to argue the original name should stand. She's not saying I'd lose, just that it would be a fight. And I hear in her voice that she's worried. My memory is a black hole for those hours. The thought that I might have named my son Valentino, even unknowingly, is agonizing. At least forgery would mean I had no part in it. The doubt creeps in, shaking everything I thought I knew about that day. I leave her office feeling shaky and uncertain. My husband drives us home. The first thing I do is call the hospital for my complete medical records from that day. They tell me it'll take a week. My stomach drops. I have 72 hours for a kidney decision, and 5 of those are already gone. Zeke comes over. I show him the video. His face turns red. He insists it's fake, doctored footage. My husband quietly interjects. Drugged signing. That's exactly the kind of thing Paul would do to get what he wants. Not technically illegal if she held the pen, but morally completely wrong. The room goes silent. I sink into a chair. If I really did sign, then I participated in naming my son Valentino. Did I steal his original name, or fix a mistake Paul forced on me? My hands are shaking. Can't breathe. Everything I thought I knew is falling apart. My husband kneels beside me, taking my hands. None of this changes the real question you're facing, he says. Whether Daniel should donate. Paul's blackmail is designed to make you feel uncertain and guilty about the past, so you'll do what he wants in the present. But Daniel's legal name is Daniel, no matter what happened 13 years ago. The signing question is about Paul trying to control you through doubt. The kidney question is about a sick child who needs help. He's right. I've been letting Paul control this entire conversation. The real issue is Ashley's son dying, and whether my healthy son should risk surgery to save him. I pick up my phone and call Ashley back. I tell her I want to meet her tomorrow. I need to see her son with my own eyes. She agrees immediately. That night, I sit on Daniel's bed. Put the book down, I say, my voice serious. I need to talk to you about something important. His face shifts from relaxed to worried. I explain carefully that he has a half-brother he's never met, a boy from Paul's second marriage who is very sick. Daniel's face cycles through confusion, curiosity, and a flash of hurt. He asks how old Lucas is, what's wrong, why I never mentioned him. I answer honestly. I don't mention the kidney donation yet. He gets quiet, staring at his hands. Then he asks if Lucas knows about him. I realize I don't know. I tell him I'm meeting Lucas tomorrow. He surprises me completely by asking if he can come too. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not sure if it's the right choice. But he has a right to meet his own sibling. I tell him we can probably arrange it. I barely sleep, imagining every possible wrong outcome. Morning comes too early. Daniel is already dressed, waiting by the front door. My husband offers to come. I see Daniel watching us carefully. I tell my husband thanks, but this should be just the two of us. The drive to the hospital is 40 minutes of Daniel's questions. What does Lucas look like? How old is he? Why don't his kidneys work? I answer everything I can. He's building a mental image of this brother. In the hospital lobby, Ashley waits. The second she sees Daniel, her face contorts. Seeing Paul, seeing me, seeing his expressions. Tears well up. She thanks us, her voice shaky, and leads us to the elevators, chattering nervously about Lucas. The pediatric ward is too cheerful. Cartoon characters on the walls. We pass other rooms, glimpses of sick children. Ashley stops at a door, takes a deep breath. Lucas is so much smaller than I expected. Pale, skinny, hooked up to machines. Ashley tells him Daniel came to visit. Lucas turns his head, bright curiosity in his eyes. He asks if Daniel is really his brother, his voice hopeful. Ashley, her voice breaking, says yes. I see Daniel's face soften. They start talking immediately. Video games, favorite subjects, stupid jokes. Lucas tells a pun about kidney beans that makes Daniel laugh. I watch them build a connection that has nothing to do with Paul or me or any of the adult baggage. A nurse comes for Lucas's tests. Lucas looks disappointed, making Daniel promise to come back. Ashley walks us to a waiting room. She thanks us again, physically stopping herself from asking the question. I ask her what Paul told her. She admits he said I was thinking about the donation, but there were complications with old paperwork. Her face is blank. I tell her about the blackmail. Her face goes completely white. She starts crying, horrified. She would never ask Daniel to donate if it meant hurting him. She realizes Paul has been manipulating both of us this whole time. We were never enemies. Just two women tangled with the same terrible man. And now our sons are paying the price. Ashley is still wiping her eyes when Daniel walks back in. His face serious. He stops in front of me. Does Lucas need my kidney? The directness catches me off guard. I tell him yes, he's a match, but there are complications. Daniel nods, looks at Ashley, then back at me. He says he wants to talk to the doctors, understand the risks, what happens if he says no. My chest tightens. I'm proud, but terrified my 13-year-old has to make this choice. Ashley covers her mouth, trying not to cry. The transplant coordinator explains the surgery, the risks, the recovery. Daniel listens intently, asking if he can still play basketball, if having one kidney means future health problems. He asks what happens to Lucas if he says no. The coordinator admits Lucas will get sicker and eventually his body will stop working. Daniel's face goes pale. He looks at me, understanding the weight of what's being asked. We go to the hospital cafeteria. Daniel takes a long drink of soda. He says he likes Lucas, that Lucas told funny jokes, and he doesn't want Lucas to die. But he's also scared of surgery, and he doesn't understand why Paul never wanted to know him, but suddenly cares now. I explain that Paul isn't a good person. His interest isn't about Daniel. Whatever Daniel decides about donation has to be about Lucas, and about what Daniel himself can live with, not about Paul's threats. Daniel asks what will happen if he says no. I'm honest. Lucas will probably die. Paul will likely try to cause legal trouble about the name change. My son's face crumples. He realizes there's no choice that doesn't hurt someone. Saying yes means surgery and risk. Saying no means a kid dies, and Paul attacks us anyway. I hate Paul more in that moment than ever before. Now he's put this impossible burden on a 13-year-old. Daniel starts crying. Pull him close. He tells me he doesn't want Lucas to die, but he's scared and angry that he has to be the one to save him. I tell him it's completely fair to feel all of those things. He pulls back, wipes his face. What would you do? He asks. Take a breath. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm angry at Paul. I have complicated feelings about Ashley. But Lucas is innocent and dying. And sometimes the right choice is the one that lets you sleep at night, even if it costs you something. I tell him I can't make this decision for him. It's his body, his risk. But I'll support whatever he chooses and protect him from Paul, no matter what happens. Daniel says he needs to think about it overnight. That night Paul texts, "What did Daniel decide?" I stare at it for 10 seconds, then lock my screen without responding. Paul doesn't get to be part of this. Whatever Daniel chooses, it will be his choice, not because Paul threatened us. Put my phone face down. My husband finds me in the hallway, pulls me close. There's nothing to say but wait. Morning comes. Daniel appears in the kitchen doorway, more serious than I've ever seen him. My husband and I freeze. Zeke comes downstairs. We stand there, a strange tableau, until Daniel takes a breath. I want to donate, he says. Because Lucas seems like a good kid, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life knowing I could have saved someone but didn't. He admits he's scared, and he doesn't understand why Paul never cared about him until now. But that's not what this is about for me. I watch my 13-year-old son explain his moral reasoning with a clarity that makes me want to cry and scream at the same time. I've never been more proud of his compassion, or more angry that he has to make this choice at all. My husband wraps Daniel in a hug, telling him he's brave. Zeke has to leave the room, crying too hard to hide it. I pull myself together enough to call the hospital. The coordinator sounds relieved and pleased. They can fit him in for initial testing this afternoon. I repeat loudly enough for Daniel to hear. You can change your mind at any point, and no one will judge you. Before we leave, I pull out my phone and text Paul. Daniel made his own choice to donate, and your blackmail had nothing to do with it. You don't get to take credit for his compassion or courage. This decision belongs entirely to Daniel, and has nothing to do with your threats or manipulation. You're never to contact us again after this is over. I hit send, and immediately block his number. My phone rings 10 minutes later. It's our lawyer. She's reviewed Paul's security footage. She's consulted with medical experts about the pain medication I was given. They all confirm. Signing legal documents while on that level of medication would make those signatures legally questionable at best, potentially invalid at worst. She explains that if Paul tries to challenge the name change, we actually have strong grounds to argue I wasn't mentally competent to consent to anything. The original birth certificate signing might be thrown out entirely. The irony hits me like a physical force. Paul's supposed evidence of my drugged signing might actually prove he manipulated me while I was incapacitated, which would support my case that the name change was necessary to correct his manipulation. I tell her to prepare a countersuit if Paul makes any legal moves. She confirms we have a strong position. Paul's threats were empty bluster. That afternoon, Daniel goes through medical testing, blood work, scans. A psychologist spends over an hour with him, making sure this is genuinely his choice. Daniel passes every assessment. The psychologist tells me my son has remarkable emotional maturity. Proud and sad because 13-year-olds shouldn't need that kind of maturity. The next 2 weeks are a blur of pre-surgery appointments. Surgery day arrives. Daniel is calm, cracking jokes with the nurses. Lucas is down the hall. Daniel asks to see him. They do an awkward fist bump. Lucas thanks him in a quiet voice that breaks my heart. Daniel just shrugs and says, "It's what brothers do, even though they barely know each other." I spend 6 hours in the waiting room with my husband, Zeke, and Ashley. Surreal, sitting with Paul's ex-wife, hoping both our sons survive. Ashley keeps apologizing. Keep telling her to stop. This isn't about us anymore. Finally, the surgeon appears. Both surgeries went perfectly. Daniel's kidney is already functioning in Lucas's body. I practically run to Daniel's room. He's groggy. He opens his eyes when I take his hand. The first thing he asks, "Is Lucas okay? Is the kidney working?" I start crying because even in pain, his first thought is for his half-brother he barely knows. The next few weeks, Daniel recovers faster than expected. He starts texting with Lucas regularly. They build a real relationship, just two kids who share DNA and bad jokes. Ashley and I develop a cautious friendship, linked by our sons. She tells me Paul's third marriage is already falling apart. His new wife found out about his criminal record and the other children he abandoned. Feel nothing. Paul is irrelevant now. Just a man who keeps making the same mistakes while the people he hurt build better lives without him. 3 months after the surgery, both boys are healthy and thriving. Daniel went back to playing soccer within 6 weeks. Our lawyer confirms Paul never filed any challenge to the name change. His evidence would have actually damaged his case. Paul got what he wanted. Lucas's life saved. Then disappeared back into whatever mess his third marriage has become. Ashley texts me photos of Lucas. He looks like a different kid, color in his cheeks, energy in his eyes. Daniel and Lucas text constantly, planning to meet up over summer break. Feels surreal but also right. Last week, Daniel was helping me make dinner. He casually mentioned he's glad he donated, because Lucas turned out to be actually cool. Then he got quiet. He said he knows Paul is his biological father, but his real dad is the man who raised him. The one who taught him to ride a bike, helped with homework, showed up to every soccer game. He said the name Daniel is who he's always been, regardless of what some old hospital paperwork says. And that giving Lucas a kidney taught him something about himself that had nothing to do with Paul or the past. I stood there cutting vegetables, and I realized my 13-year-old son has made peace with his complicated identity in a way I'm still working toward. That his choice to save Lucas came from a place of genuine compassion rather than obligation or manipulation. We're all moving forward now, with these messy and imperfect family connections, built not on Paul's attempts to control everything, but on the boys' real, undeniable relationship. And somehow, that feels like the best possible outcome from what started as an impossible situation. I'm still processing all of this even now. It's been a roller coaster. What would you have done in my place when Paul delivered that ultimatum? And how would you have explained it all to Daniel? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to know.